greater passion than that of customer care. Customer comes first no matter what. Steve, and I know a lot of people say that, but Steve lives that, and we all do. Steve has worked directly with various ministers and presidents, Guatemala, Dominican Republic, Pakistan, Uruguay, the Palestinian Authority, the World Trade Center. He's donated call center knowledge and technology licenses to grow entrepreneurial ventures in developing regions. And I could go on forever, but I'll just close it with Steve is also an author. And I love corporate thrillers, and that's exactly what he does. He's written 3 books, and he's also a professional musician. He lives in Colorado, is married, and has a daughter. And with that, Steve, I love going on about you, but I know you hate it, so we'll just get started. It's all yours, but sir.
Thanks, Phil. I really appreciate everybody joining us today. We called this, the title of this, Modernize Your Marketing with Advanced Messaging Solutions. Really the reason we did that is because oftentimes the types of technology that we're using today that we'll explain to you in this webinar are not necessarily in themselves what is advanced. The key to it is how you choose to use the technology in your business to be able to be effective and to be able to put your imprint out into the world. I certainly appreciate all that Phil said about me. What it really should say to you is that I've spent many years in calling and marketing and customer service technologies. And in that, I've had the opportunity to work with over 5,000 businesses that have purchased products that my companies have sold. And in doing that, I've learned a lot. I've really just seen a lot of what other people do, and hopefully I can bring some of that to you today. I'm going to talk about some specifics. I'll give you some basics on mobile text messaging, some basics on voice broadcasting. I'll tell you some unique applications of those. I'll also talk to you about strategies so that you can see some case studies and kind of consider what, for example, the insurance industry or the collections industry or lead gen industry or even channel partner industry, and see, in fact, how you can use this technology to communicate cost effectively and strongly with those markets. So why don't you go to the first slide. Well, voice broadcasting. I'm sure if you've joined the meeting, you probably know what it is. It's been used for many years as a method of direct marketing. And as I said, it's used in every industry, real estate, telemarketing, and everything that it says here. The real key to voice broadcasting is en masse. How do you take a message, a succinct message that you've geared to the need of your market, and provided that message almost instantly to hundreds, thousands, even millions of target market. And that's what we'll talk about here. Go ahead, Phil. One of the key pieces of voice marketing that I've seen over the years is that it's been very effective. But at the same time, many people who object to getting lots of phone calls have found ways to reduce that coming to them. And oftentimes it's as simple as they see numbers that come into their telephone that are numbers they don't recognize, and they just ignore them. And when they ignore them, oftentimes they don't get the voicemail. Even if they do get the voicemail, they'll essentially eliminate it before they're even listening. But I was speaking to someone today in our office, and they said that the public has a fanatical interest in listening to their voicemails and responding and seeing their texts. And I think that's very true, because one of the things that we offer, and we've developed it recently, is what we call ringless voicemail messaging. And this is really simple. It allows you to put a message onto somebody's cell phone without ever ringing the phone. So they will be listening in their fanatical interest to their voicemails, and without knowing that that voicemail had even existed, all of a sudden they'll go to the next voicemail and be listening to your message. At that point, generally speaking, they'll listen to the message. Of course, the message has to be succinct, but the beauty of this is nobody interrupts it, and if they do like your message, of course, they can go back and listen to it again. Let's move to the next slide. We have another area that is really becoming a very, very clear marketing tactic, at this time, and you're familiar with it because you do it on your own cell phone, and it is text messaging. It's SMS. I remember many years ago we had a very large office in the Philippines, and the Philippines was considered the #1 country in the world for SMS text messaging at that time. And I realized that the rest of the world hadn't yet caught on, but it quickly did. And today, 97% of the people carry cell phones, and of that, everyone is obviously looking at their text messages. Of the text messages that people get, I believe the figure is 94% of text messages received are reviewed by the receiver of those. So it's an incredibly powerful way to communicate. Now, it can be used in a wide range of practice in business, and we'll talk about some of those practices, but nonetheless, it enables you to communicate, engage your audience immediately, and not only send a message, but to interact with them. So there are methods that you can get them to reply to you. There are ways to do surveys, and it's really an incredible strength. And this is a very important piece. And let me digress for a minute. I've spent years doing marketing myself throughout the world to large audiences. At any given day, we market to over 40,000 call centers at our companies. And that's just one of our niches. We market to over 100,000 insurance agents every single day. And I am constantly striving to find methods to be able to approach them so that they take the moment in time to hear what we have to say. In addition to hearing what we have to say to those large databases that we market to, we find that we have to use a multi-tactic approach. So we may use, and I think most of you who've joined us here learned about us through email. So we'll use email on a daily basis, newsletters, press releases. We'll use voice broadcasting. We'll use text messaging. And the key to meeting the goal of attaching with your audience is that you don't know how somebody reacts. You don't know what their bias is, and you don't know what they're looking at any given time. What we do know is that people are involved in the media on one level or another. So I may gather my database and say that I can reach you by email, but I can also reach you by text, can also reach you by voice messaging, and on and on. So what I try to do is to attack the market on multi-levels of tactics and allow you, or when I say you, I mean the audience, to decide what is the best way to hear from you. Now here's the truth of it. The truth is that we every single day get redundant marketing. We're constantly seeing the same advertisements, even in the same pause on a television show 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, 20 times in a night of watching television. We accept those. We personally sometimes have bias towards it, and we get sick and tired of it. But why do you think they're doing that? They're doing that because the key piece of marketing is to imprint your name and your brand on the relevant market. Not that that minute in time gets necessarily an action or a reaction, but in fact what it does is it imprints you over and over and over. And that's really a key to the types of marketing tactics that we do here. We're allowing our audience or our customers to find methods to do constant, relevant marketing on a consistent basis in a cost-effective means. Let's go to the next screen. Phil, can we go to the next screen? All right, the basics of marketing. All of the messaging that you do aside, you really shouldn't do it until you know why you're doing it. Now, I'm not against the idea of trying something, but if you try something and you haven't determined the best way to implement it and the best way to measure it, then I'm not sure you're going to get information back that's going to be appropriate for you. So what you want to do is obviously devise your strategy overall. So here is an example. I say I want to put on a webinar. When I want to put on that webinar, I say, who is the audience to? It's to call centers. I say, what do I want to say to call centers? I want to send a message that I'm doing a webinar that may increase their revenue, as an example. So I will develop a strategy of how do I get that relevant message across succinctly to that wide range of audience, and what methods should I use? And then once I do those methods, how do I measure the response so that I can see I'm getting a response from mobile text messaging or voice message or emails or otherwise. All of that is consistent with developing your contact strategy. But if you have a need to contact a large audience or an audience on a consistent basis, you lay out that strategy. Then you take the call list, meaning, okay, I have a method that I want to market to. Now, who do I market to? That's your call list. So you take your call list and you say, within my call list, do I have segments? Do I have verticals? Do I have areas that want to hear my message one way and another area that wants to hear it another way? If I can determine that, then I will break out my database, or in this case we call it a call list, to those markets, and I will devise a tactic to meet that need. So I may be sending it to the collections industry. They speak with their own lingo in terms of debt collectors. I may be sending the webinar message that I talked about sending out, but I may be sending it also to lead gen people. Well, they don't speak the same language that debt collections speak. So I will segment that message up. On and on. I will do that all along the way. I may have a channel partner relationship with, such as a Avaya, or with thousands and thousands of channel partners, and they speak a different language. They may speak the Avaya language. So in that case, I create that strategy. I know I'm simplifying this, but I want you to get it into your heads so that when you go back to do your work, you do it effectively, and you recall what I'm saying here. So segment your list according to what your need is. We'll call it the strategy. Implement those tactics on a multi-level basis, where some audiences may be getting text messaging, some audiences may be getting voice, some may be getting other forms. Once you do that, you can then gear. It's very easy, for example, with our service at Voice One, to be able to send a specific message by industry. So you might have the overall point, which is I want everybody to come to the webinar, but at the same time, how they come is the message, and that's a very simple thing to do with today's technology. Once you have that strategy, now you can address the audience perfectly, or as perfectly as you can. And I always say, for goodness sakes, it's just marketing. You send a message today, it may not have impact. Tomorrow you can send a different message. Later today you can send another message. So you do want to calibrate your key messages. You want to inspire confidence. You want to make it simple. You want to be certain. You want to get right to the point. You want to remind people who you are, what you're doing, and why you're contacting them, and what you want for them to do in terms of a call to action. Let's go to the next slide. Mobile marketing points of interest. Well, the reason I want to talk about this is because in my world and my approach to a market, whether it's to my thousands of customers or to my relevant market that I intend to bring in and become my customers, we use text messaging constantly. We do it, as I said, because you get an immediate response from people. People see the text message pop up, they look at it, and then they can take an action, or whether it's responding to you, opting in, or even deleting it. It's something I can do 24 hours a day, and it doesn't necessarily interfere with anyone's life. And it's faster to look at than listening to a voice message. As I said earlier, 97%, essentially everybody has a telephone and is using mobile marketing messages, or able to read their messages. 83% is the actual figure of those that open those messages right away within the first hour. How much more powerful is that? We're in business. We have a message. We need to get it to our audience. Why wouldn't we do text messaging? Is there any reason that we wouldn't do that if we believe in constant contact with our audience? The thing I would tell you is sometimes voice messaging does have a negative reaction from people. We all know that. We have it ourselves. Text messaging really doesn't do that. People look at it, they like it, or even if they don't like it, they just delete it very quickly. And they go about their day, but you've had that one moment, even if they didn't like it, to imprint yourself on them. And you can do two-way communication. Which means that you can say hit reply or key in information. We'll talk about that in a minute. Go ahead to the next slide. These are some of the tactics you can use for text messaging that I want to go over. So we have short codes and keywords. You do a blast. You send out a blast to a number of people, and let's just talk about it. Say that I have 5,000 Ace Hardware stores that I'm the corporate head of Ace Hardware. I want to send out a message to my 5,000 franchises and stores around the country. I can blast all 5,000 of those with a text message. I can say to them something like, don't forget, the month of May we have specials on nails, or on some form of hardware. So I send that message out, and I'm reminding the franchise that they need to be aware and remind themselves that they have this special offer. Now I want to make sure that they got it. So I want some confirmation. So maybe what I will do is I will say hit reply if you've not if you've got this message, and put in a keyword. So put in a word like special offer understood. Whatever that word is, you can ask them to do that. Now, you'll get a response. You'll see who has responded. You can attach that response to the database, and then you'll know in a call result that that they got the message loud and clear. You will also know the people that didn't respond. So now you're able to devise a strategy to reach those people, those Ace Hardware stores that didn't respond. Maybe you'll do a voicemail campaign. Maybe, in fact, you'll do another text message campaign. Now, there's appointment reminders that you can do. Don't forget that today there is an appointment at 2 o'clock with your dentist. Don't forget that this is the time of the month that you should be paying your bill. Your promise date is such. Mobile e-cards, mobile coupons, mobile voting. You, for an example, have seen, I'm sure many of you, American Idol. And American Idol, you'll see people are saying, key in a number, text in your number to in what's called a short code, to where if you want to vote for one singer over another, each singer has a code. So their code may be 121212. The next one is 242424, and you can ask them to contact you through text messaging to do that. Let's go to the next. Oh, let me stop first and say that social networking should be a key piece of how you market today. And to do that, you have to build your opt-in list for Facebook, for Twitter, Even for LinkedIn, you have to build your audience. So you can take text and you can drop your text into Facebook, into Twitter, into the media that you believe that audience will do. We can help you with those strategies, so I won't go deeper into them at the moment. Let's go to the next slide. Ringless voicemail. We've talked about text messaging, and I will talk about some case studies so you'll get some.
Steve, if you can hear me, we're having problems. It looks like you're frozen on the screen and your voice. Steve, if you can hear me, please dial back in. Guests, please bear with me for just a second here. We're having some technical difficulties. Okay, everyone, Steve is dialing back in. I just spoke with him. Had some problems where he was located. So he'll be on in a second, and we'll pick up right where he left off. Again, don't forget, we can ask questions. We've got a couple that have been asked already, actually 4 or 5. But don't forget to type in your questions, and we'll get those to Steve, and he can answer them when he comes back on. And again, he was just having some technical problems from his hotel. Bear with us for a second. Thank you.
Hello?
Hi, Steve. We hear you.
Okay, great. I'm sorry about that. We were on to Ringless voicemail.
Right.
And let me know if anybody's having a problem hearing me. Ringless voicemail is an important new development, and as I said earlier, it allows you to drop a voicemail simply into somebody's voicemail without the phone ever ringing. So as many applications as you think are relevant to that in your business, you certainly do that. I can think of some right now. For an example, if you are sending a message to someone that is not necessarily the kind of a message that they may be excited about hearing, such as a get message, a collections message, a reminder that they must meet their payment requirements at this time. If they can, if you can drop a message, for an example, we have a client that has over $1 million a month that they have been leaving voice messages to. They meet all of the regulatory requirements to do that. But of course, people are used to it, and because of that, they really get a very standard or benign response from those. So they've taken Ringless voicemail and they leave the exact same message, but they do it without people knowing the call's coming in. They immediately get a higher response, simply because, as I said, people are fanatical about listening to their voicemail. So once it's in there and you've done it unobtrusively, then of course they're going to listen to it. You can do this just with almost any type of a situation. So let me talk about more specific things that you can use, not just Ringless, but text in terms of industry types. Let's talk about insurance for a moment. We have an application where we have over 100,000 insurance agents. And what each insurance agent has for themselves, their own customer list, people that are people they have signed up for insurance policies. Now, all of those policies have reminder moments, such as it's the time of the year to re-up your insurance plan, to advise about policy changes, to remind them to say, happy birthday, I recognize that this is a special day for you. Insurance agents want to maintain a close relationship with their audience. So they can use two methods. One is they can call, which they do, and when they call, it's a much more assured way to say, hey, happy birthday, by using Ringless voicemail. But in a text perspective, because we know that everyone, even 80-some%, as we said, within the first hour, are seeing that text message, they can send a note out and say, hi, I'm with ABC Insurance. You're my client. We really appreciate you. And don't forget, there's a payment reminder. Now, what they can do with that payment reminder is they can actually secure the payment right there, because they can create a link and they can set up what's called a keyword campaign. And they can, in that keyword, they can reply by saying payment, whatever word they choose. But in this case, let's say payment. The subscriber to the insurance will click where it says payment. I mean, they will put that word in. They'll hit reply. That payment will immediately come back to, for example, our service, and then it will send another text message to them, giving them a link to a method of payment. So they might take them back then with that second text message to a payment screen or to a screen specific to their account. Lead gen. Of course, lead gen is a critical use of text messaging. One can send out to their mass database that they may have customers with already. Let's again go to channel partners like Avaya, and I'm using them only as an example because people recognize the name. And they can send out to all of their thousands of channel partners that they now have a new product for sale, and that they can buy material from their distributor at a very good price this week only. So they take a text message, they send it back. They can then put in there, if interested in adding this to your account or having it shipped to you, put a keyword in such as shipped. They put that keyword in, it comes back to the distributor. The distributor then will respond with another email with an order form or a method of doing the order. All that can be done, and we know, as I said, over 80% of those messages are seen almost instantly. Town hall meetings. After the election in November last year, we had President Obama had a large and multi-million group of volunteers. He wanted to have a town hall, what he called a town hall meeting with his volunteers. So they all called in to a number, and the leaders of the volunteers, as well as President Obama, spoke to their group, thanking them. Now, they wanted to get some information back from that group with regard to certain points of interest in terms of what they wanted to prioritize in his next 4-year tenure. In doing that, they used text messaging to do that. So what they did essentially is they said, if you want this priority of issues, then text message a short code into it. So call text message to 727272, and that will tell us that this many people want that approach to our administration. And they did it with about 5 different choices. And simply that's how they use text messaging. So not only do you need to think about text messaging as an outbound approach, but it's also obviously very strong on an inbound approach. We talked a little bit about how you, as a channel partner, can use messaging. We've talked about town hall meetings. Lead generation, of course, is an important one, so that you can take a database and you can send them information, and they can simply respond if they have an interest in it. You can also send them to a website, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a return back on a text message if people prefer that. You can do the payment reminders, as I suggested we can do in insurance or special occasions. Let's talk let's go to the next screen, because I want to talk about one more area of an interesting case study.
Okay, the next screen's up. Text messaging in debt collections, Steve.
Okay. Well, in debt collection, it's a very important area that is very hard for debt collectors to get in front of their audience for obvious reasons. So there's quite a bit of regulation tied to how you can communicate with the debtors. That obviously is no different whether you use ringless voicemail or text in terms of regulation. It's still a phone call, and it still falls under the same disciplines, that regulatory agencies insist upon. So you're not trying to change or beat around the bush from regulation, but you're trying to say there's a more interesting method that we can use today to reach people. So if you send, for an example, a text message that is a very basic text message. Here is an example of how one collection agency does it. They send a text message, and in that text message they simply say, contact us today about your account. When they send that info, when they click to do that, they say, put a keyword in. So they will put a word such as need a payment, or need to make payment, or want to see my account. Whatever that agency chooses, they put that word in. People will respond to that. Now immediately they will get back some more information, and they'll get another text coming back to them saying, I am with blah, 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 ABC company. Here, if you are Mr. Jones, continue. If you're not Mr. Jones, don't continue. All of the things that are required of the law. But when they hit return, and then they're given a link. When they're given a link, they go back not to their specific account, but to a general account that allows the debtor to put in their specific information that now sorts through on a website what in fact their account means. Maybe it's Social Security number and pertinent facts about their account, so that only that debtor is able to see their account. They meet the requirements of the regs in doing that, and at the same time they've driven traffic. They can also, as oftentimes is the case, use text messaging as a way to simply drive inbound calls, which is really a goal of debt agencies. So they will say, please call at this number if you are Mr. Jones, and whatever appropriate way of saying it is, they will drive those phone calls in and give a link to be able to work off of their text message onto their phone. and they can drive instant calls. And you will see that the minute text messages hit, within moments, you'll get hundreds or thousands of inbound traffic to your agency with people trying to understand, what needs to happen. Oftentimes, people just forget to make a payment, and it can be used that way. Well, today, as I said, I wanted to talk to you about uses of text messaging, uses of ringless voicemail, uses of voice broadcasting. I hope you've understood that the best approach is to come up with a comprehensive strategy first. Within that strategy, break out your database, make sure that you understand the message you want to send to the database, and then the method, meaning ringless voicemail, text messaging, or simply voice broadcasting. Opt-in campaigns, keyword campaigns, short code campaigns, and then make sure that you have measurement in place. Companies such as VoiceOne, we have measurement in place to assist you on that. And then leave it to the experts, companies such as VoiceOne, to be able to implement that work for you. I hope that you've enjoyed this. There may be some questions that you have now, and I'd be happy to answer them.
There are actually, Steve. There's a few that have come in, and just everybody, I've got the slide back up on the screen showing you how to ask the questions. Again, just type your questions in that box, hit the send key, and it'll show up and out. And by the way, I'm Phil Kinsella. I'm with the Call Center Corporation. I don't think I ever told you that. But anyway, I will, we can take questions here anytime you want to type them in. It'll show up on my screen, and we can get them to Steve. Steve, the first question is, can you just have a keyword with a hyperlink rather than them have to type it in? And can we make it even easier for them by having a hyperlink?
Absolutely. Good question, and just logical. In that case, you're really trying to leave less action to the person you're sending that message to. In other words, you're trying to say, look, all you have to do is click here and come back to us. And you can do that. You simply put your link in, you click there, and then they're back with you. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Here's an interesting one, and I haven't had this before. Can you manage this type of program for us?
Well, absolutely, and don't get me wrong, as much as we want to educate you, we want you to use us. And this is what we do for a living. We're very good at it. It's very cost-effective for our customers, and we provide all of the services and working out the strategies with you as well with our consultants. And then simply our charges are based upon how many messages you send, or how much is it a 30-second message or a 60-second message, and the way you approach it is simply it's simply your choice in terms of how you want to approach it, whether it's text messaging or ringless voicemail or otherwise.
All right. Good. Legal. Is ringless voicemail 100% legal with the FTC, or is that a question for my attorney?
Well, it's certainly a question for your attorney, but it's really a question of common sense. The common sense being that think of any phone situation that you have, whether it as the same regulations occur. Whether you're dropping a ringless voicemail on somebody's voicemail, it's still a phone call to them. Whether you're sending a text in a certain method, it's still a text. And you need to recognize that there is no way to skirt the law, nor do we recommend it. So, yeah, I think it's always helpful to ask your attorney, and then ask yourself as a business person, if that advice makes sense for you.
Okay. Can you text out? Surveys have, it's hard to, surveys have been a great marketing tool for me. I've been using email. Can you text out surveys? since mine are so short, I think it will work.
Sure, absolutely. You can text out surveys. There are a few methods that come to mind, but certainly there are multiple ways to do that. You can send out a survey where somebody sends a keyword back to you that is a measurement or a response to a measurement. You can send them a note that says, if you're interested in this survey, click here. I get those, by the way, from United Airlines after every flight. And when I get that text, I just simply respond to it. And then when I say interested or survey or willing or yes, then what I will do is get a second text from them that tells me essentially what where to go, or gives me a link to go to actually follow up and answer the question. So as many methods as you want to use in survey, we're absolutely able to do that.
Fantastic. One more question. Didn't hear everything you said about town hall meetings. Can you elaborate?
Absolutely. I was referring to an instance where actually I was a participant in last fall, and that was after President Obama had won the election, and in winning the election, he had asked all of his millions of volunteers to call into a town hall meeting. We called into this town hall meeting. When we did, after we were spoken to, hang on a second, I'm relogging on, by the way. Okay. They had questions, and the questions were relevant to the agenda for its coming 4 years. And they had options. Are you interested in health care first? Are you interested in gun control first? Or whatever the issues were, and I can't remember what they were. And they used a inbound text campaign to measure the results. So they used what was called a short code, where if you were interested in a certain approach to an agenda, hit 121212. A different approach, 232323, and on. Those inbound calls came in, they were instantly measured, and they could immediately, literally at that moment, see what in fact was relevant to that audience. Now, it just reminded me, although this isn't about town hall meetings, but how you can use, and I'll leave you with this, how you can use the same type of a method of instant reaction and measurement in conferences. I can speak at a conference to an audience. I can ask the conference to text in their messages. The messages, as they come in, get posted on the screen behind me, and I immediately see what the questions are that the audience has. I can also ask the audience to respond to a survey of, do you agree with what I'm saying, or do you not agree with what I'm saying? And they can do the same type of inbound selection through text, in fact, and they can do that by voice also. That town hall meetings has been effective for town hall meetings.
Okay. Steve, that appears to be the last of the questions. One more chance. Anybody want to type in a question? Now's your opportunity. Steve, we really appreciate you being here. We know you're traveling, and we had some technical problems there, but we recovered rapidly. I wanted to let people know that they can reach us, obviously, via the information on the screen. But one of the other questions that I didn't get to, and it's more for me to address after the webinar, but it's, can you add me to your mailing list? And the way to do that is contact sales@voiceonesolutions.com, and they can get you on the list as an opt-in. So yeah, that's the way to do it. Contact sales, they'll add you to the list, and you too can get the the informational emails that we send out. And then what other, Chris just asked, one more, is the webinar available after the presentation? And yes, it is. We will post this on YouTube and send an email out telling you how to link to it. And it will also, there will be a link on our website at www.thecallcentercorp.com. And for that, you click under the video, I believe it's called Webinars, actually. And it'll be there probably later today, but say by tomorrow morning at the latest. So thanks for that question, Chris. Joe, everybody that's asked questions, appreciate it. Steve, again, any final comments?
I would just like to say the reason I wanted to join in this meeting today, and oftentimes we have experts that are much more effective than I may be, is that I have spent my life working in the field of marketing and customer service and presenting products and solutions. And I'm constantly frustrated and challenged by the idea of how in the world do I reach my audience on a consistent basis. And everything else aside, I have to tell you that that's my passion. And the reason that we choose to be in the business of messaging is we see it as not only a current approach, but one that gives us constancy and cost effectiveness ourselves. And so what better way to tell you about this than to share with you what's helped to make my organization successful. Do what we have done, and I think you'll find it. So I came to you with some relevance, some passion, and interest, and I hope that resonated for you.
Fantastic, and I think it did. Everyone will have more in our educational series webinars, and we'll advise you through the email invites that we send out. Hope we don't overdo it on that, but we want to make sure everybody gets registered, and sometimes we get busy and forget to do it or put it off, so we send others to remind you, and that's it, not to pester you. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Thank you again, Steve, and that ends today's webinar. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.